senators are set to return to the Capitol today after negotiators worked through the weekend trying to strike a deal on immigration reform in exchange for additional aid for Ukraine and Israel. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas arrived at the Capitol for meetings just before 4 p.m. yesterday. He did not answer any questions. NBC News also spotted Independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema and Democratic Senator Chris Murphy. Both have been directly involved in the negotiations. At the same time, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell sent a note to his Republican members informing them that while negotiations are making progress toward a deal, they are not there yet, and McConnell says will likely not be a vote before the holiday break. That's according to a copy of the email, which was obtained by NBC News. One source is telling NBC it's possible that the senators are sent home by midweek. Meanwhile, the White House met with leaders of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus on Saturday, with several Democratic members saying they've become increasingly concerned about the administration agreeing to an immigration deal that they deem unacceptable. Joining us now, congressional reporter for Politico, Ursula Perano. Ursula, great to see you this morning. You're covering the Senate. You're following the day in, day out of this. Give us the very latest as to what your sources are telling you about just how far along they are towards this deal and whether they think anything can get done before the Christmas break.
Yeah, so our reporting at Politico is telling us that there is progress being made. That is truthful. There are certain items on the list that these negotiators feel they've been able to check off, that they have some sort of agreement on. But there is still a lofty list left of issues that they're looking to tackle. And at the end of the day, nothing is in writing yet. And talks like this, getting these agreements onto paper, something that can be handed out to lawmakers, that can be put into a bill, put into something that can actually be voted on the floor, is essential. And it does not seem that people are there yet, these key core Senate negotiators, Sinema, Langford, and Murphy being the leading group. It does seem like there will be some additional issues as well. Even if they could get a deal onto paper this week, a lot of lawmakers are saying this is a really in-depth issue. We want time to look at it. They would want time to propose amendments potentially. This is going to be a complex, very litigated issue that they have to look through thoroughly. And additionally, the House is giving no signal that even if the Senate were to pull this out of a hat this week, manage to get a vote, that they are willing to come back and add the House necessary vote to send it to the president's desk before the end of the year.
So, Ursula, let's play along that timeline. Let's say a deal is not reached before the holiday break, either because the House isn't here or the Senate can't quite get it over the finish line. Talk to us as what this will look like in January, where we know there's so much more on lawmakers' plate as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the really complicating issue and why some senators are really hoping to get this done before January. When we get into the new year, we are looking at government funding deadlines, those looming, ominous government shutdowns that always tackle Congress at the worst times possible. There is this laddered CR that the House pushed for that was passed earlier this year. The first rung of that will be coming up just after the new year. There will be a second tranche in February where lawmakers are going to be having to focus on getting either a continuing resolution or individual bills or an omnibus through. And that's going to complicate the situation for tackling a major spending bill at the same time on foreign aid, humanitarian aid, and these complex border issues that, to note, are also getting some pushback from the progressive wing of Democrats. Conservative Republicans, particularly in the Senate, are among the group that are saying, let's kick this to the new year. It is just an all-out sort of mess as far as everybody agreeing, not just on the substance, but on a timeline of when they actually feel is the best time to tackle this. Some people say it's got to be rushed, it's got to be now, and some people say you can't rush something like this that is simply so complicated.
And Ursula, take us inside the divides among Democrats as to what to do on the border, where we have some of the party really pushing and saying, look, this is an electoral liability. We need to come up with something here, while others are really nervous about what the White House might be willing to put in place.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a definitive split among Democrats on this. Progressives and some members of the Democratic side of the Senate have been voicing concerns about these issues being on the table. They are upset that these are up for negotiation at all. This is a one-time spending bill, a supplemental spending package, but at the end of the day, permanent policy changes are on the table as part of these negotiations. Some of these Democrats are saying that is not how this should go. This is not a good precedent, and this is not the place to be negotiating these long-term changes. But there are vulnerable Democrats who are moderates from House districts, who have swingy seats, who are open to these talks in part because if they do pass something on the border, they can spin that in their own direction. They can say that they pass something to secure our border. They can bring that back to their voters, and they can also pin any hyper-conservative changes on the will of the House and sort of shaft it off that way. So there even have been Republicans saying that they're kind of confounded as to why some Democrats aren't more interested in these talks in this deal, because they think that there's a way for Democrats to spin this in their favor.
And we're seeing the White House, which has been largely hands-off when it comes to legislative issues over recent months, being more involved here, including White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients heading to the Hill in recent days. We will follow it all week long. Congressional reporter for Politico, Ursula Perano, thank you for joining us this morning.